As we continue to celebrate the anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, tonight the story of some brave St. Louisans who ended up on the front lines in the battle for civil rights. They weren't activists, they were nuns. And in 1965, they earned the title, the Sisters of Selma.
I said we went down there and stole the show on the boys because, see, we weren't supposed to be the ones that were going.
The past is always present in Sister Mary Antona Ebo's small North St. Louis apartment.
That is the Vice President of the United States.
Opening her scrapbook is like opening a history book, and she's far more than a footnote.
If we're wrong, why don't you arrest us?
It's Selma, Alabama, 1965. Only 2% of the African-American population was registered to vote because they were repeatedly denied access.
And you must realize that this is a national issue. It's not a Selma issue.
The struggle came to a head on March 7th of that year.
This is an unlawful assembly. You are ordered to disperse, go home, or go to your church.
When 600 Selma blacks were clubbed by state troopers during a voting rights demonstration. It came to be known as Bloody Sunday. Just 2 days later, Sister Ebo was packing for Selma.
All the people were calling in. Now, you know you don't know the Deep South. Go down there, stay with the group, and keep your mouth shut. Well, I couldn't imagine that.
The St. Louis Archdiocese answered an appeal from Dr. Martin Luther King to join a voting rights march in Selma. 51 people made the trip, including 6 nuns. As the only African American, Sister Ebo knew there could be consequences.
If we get arrested, I won't be with the rest of these sisters because they have segregated prisons even.
Sister Barbara Moore was also aware of the risks. A few days after the St. Louis group was in Selma, she went with a delegation from Kansas City. Just the ride from the airport was eye-opening.
Trucks with shotguns in the back, people standing on their porches, guns in their hands.
In the 60s, in places like Selma, nuns were not allowed to participate in public activities. So the sight of these sisters stunned the locals.
We are here from St. Louis to demonstrate, to witness our love for our fellow citizens in Selma.
With priests by their sides, Sister Ebo and the other nuns marched down a Selma street before being stopped by police. The procession just lasted a block, but it seemed like miles, especially after someone in authority confronted Sister Ebo.
He said, "And sister, if you can see without your glasses on, it might be well if you took them off." And when I get really scared, I get silly. And my thought was, oh Lord, we're not down here to play pickup sticks, are we?
I faced the state troopers in full riot gear. I mean, that was talking about intimidating. But when you look at people's eyes, it seemed as if they were just as nervous as we were.
Though Sister Ebo and Sister Barbara were only in Selma a short time, what happened in Selma was lasting. It spurred Congress to pass the Voting Rights Act, which banned intimidation and other tactics that denied the ballot to millions of blacks.
It was a moral movement. It was calling the public to consciousness.
If we don't get involved when we know that it's happening, and we know that injustice is happening, then we are failing also.
It's been nearly 50 years since Selma, and while both sisters agree that we've come a long way, they also agree that we still have a long way to go. Dr. King's dream, where we will walk together as sisters and brothers, has not quite been realized.
Be kind, be compassionate, be loving. That's what we need. We don't need people who agree on everything, but we need people who are going to treat people with dignity and respect.
It's kind of like on that night, the last night that he preached.
And I've seen the promised land.
I've been to the mountaintop. I've seen the promised land. But even Moses didn't get to the promised land.
Sister Ebo admitted at first she was scared and didn't want to go to Selma, but says she had to go to see if she could help make a difference. Both sisters expressed great concern that the Supreme Court recently invalidated key parts of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. They're worried that we are regressing. On Tuesday, August 27th, we're going to bring you 50 Years of Change, Share the Journey. It's an hour-long special broadcast dedicated to taking a look back at the struggle, the speech, and the movement it sparked. That's Tuesday night at 7, right here on News Channel